let's crack on with session 2. So are we ready for part 2 of this, which is all about us transforming our self-sabotage patterns? That's what we are going to be taking a look at now. So for those of you who are just tuning in, I can see some more people tuning in now as well. So for those of you who are just tuning in, this video is all about our self-sabotage patterns. And the reason I want to share this is because these are often the things that stand in the way of us being successful on anything in our journey. And it absolutely breaks my heart, because the very reason that most people come to EAM or on their own personal development or self-healing journey is because they want to change. And the irony is, it's the things that are holding them back, the beliefs, the patterns, the experiences, their things that they're holding in their energy, that are the very thing that are stopping them from actually going on the journey to changing their lives. And I see people tripping up over these same things time and time again, and yet it's the same things that are standing in the way that are stopping them from being successful. I don't know if I've made that very clear, but it is that confusing, and that's why it breaks my heart, because that so many people are just getting stuck in the very habits that are stopping them from doing the work to actually change their lives in the first place. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about in this next part of the call. So hopefully this will make sense to you. Do give me some thumbs and hearts if you're ready for us to have this conversation. So this next piece of the puzzle, I know that I am absolutely going to end up drawing on my flip chart for you again. So for me, this is just, again, just to show you where we're at. This is just, there we are. What we're going to be looking at here is a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of what we talk about here under the your soul element of the much bigger picture and journey that we take people on. And the your soul element for me is made up of 4 parts. The your soul piece is about all of the things that make you, you. They're the elements of your life that only you ever experience. So for me, that's what we would call your energy, your thoughts and beliefs, which is all the mental level of your life experience, your patterns, which is what we're going to be talking about in a second, your emotions, and your physical health. So those 4 things make up you. They're the part that we call your soul. Nobody else ever experiences those 4 things. But it's those 4 things that are very often the thing that stand in the way of us changing. In fact, not very often, every single time, it's the things that are held in the your soul element of your life, your energy, your thoughts and beliefs, your emotions, and your physical health, which stop you from creating change in the other areas of your life. Now, I'm not going to talk about this today in this video, but there is a very, very specific reason why we work in the order that we do, in the way that we do. And most people are trying to work their lives back to front. And it always, always, always begins with your soul. People are trying to change things outside of them without having sorted out the things in the your soul part of their journey first. And then they go on the journey, they try to create change. And this is, again, where these self-sabotaging patterns pop up. They try to create change in their life, and then it all goes wrong, and they wonder why. And it's because they are still forever fighting against or pushing against the very things that are still held in their energy. And so in order for you to really create this change that you want in your life, you have to do the work on yourself in a particular order to create the rapid shifts and changes that you really want. So it's kind of that whole go slow to go fast thing. So what are our self-sabotage patterns? Have you ever noticed in yourself that the same thing keeps cropping up time and time again? No matter what you do, it's always kind of the same pattern that you notice yourself repeating, the same thing you notice yourself doing, the same thing that gets in your way, or you might notice that just as you're about to succeed, something crops up and goes wrong, or you find yourself going back into old ways of thinking or repeating patterns, or you think, oh, I'm like 2 years further on in my journey and everything around me looks exactly the same. And we end up saying things to ourselves. We end up just saying the same things to ourselves time and time and time and time and time and time and time again. Now, I'm going to have to draw on my flip chart again. I knew that I would. Sorry about that. So our aura. Where are we? Again, we're back to the aura. As you might be able to tell, if any of you've watched any of my other videos, I draw auras a lot. So for those who, again, are just tuning in, your aura is your electromagnetic force field. It's an electromagnetic frequency that is all around you. It is a measurable energy field, which can be measured up to 20 feet away from you. Your aura is a recording device that holds everything you've ever experienced, and everything that we would call our subconscious and conscious awareness is energetically held in our aura. However, what we're talking about here are our self-sabotage patterns. There are actually 7 layers to our aura, but the ones that we experience on a day-to-day basis, so these first 4, our physical body, our etheric, emotional, and mental energy. So what we're talking about here are self-sabotage patterns, and our self-sabotage patterns tend to be held here on the mental level of our energy. Think about them in terms of thinking or things that you, it's like our programming, the pre-recorded versions of the way that we would automatically respond to things. If you want to put it into our physical body, you would look at this as things that you would associate with the brain. That's what this mental level of our energy is all about. So all of our patterns, all of our stories, all of our self-sabotaging patterns are held somewhere here. As we were just talking about in the previous part of the training, that our aura is this recording device. And the reason that that is wonderful is because this recording device enables us to learn things from our environment. And we've learned so many of these things as we've grown up. Before the age of 7 or 8, we are literally in a hypnotic state for that entire time. We are a giant sponge absorbing everything in a hypno state. So everything we've seen around us, everything we've believed, everything that's been said to us, everything we've experienced before the age of 7 or 8 has been ingrained in us, in our energy. And during that time, and obviously throughout the rest of our lives, we use the experiences that we've had to make decisions. We assess the world, we assess other people, we assess things about ourselves, and we make choices. Now, those things become our core beliefs. Those things also become our patterns and our ways of dealing with what we see, think, feel, and experience in the world outside of us. So many of us, in fact, all of us, are running our lives on the experiences of a 7 or 8-year-old person. Now, that might explain some things that are going on in our lives. For some people, that might make perfect sense. Oh my God, I'm running my life on the beliefs of a 7 or 8-year-old. But we're all running our lives on the beliefs of a 7 or 8-year-old, unless or until we have done the work on ourselves to shift and change some of those beliefs and become consciously and energetically aware of them. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about that is because these beliefs that a 7 or 8-year-old child has created are running our lives, and these are the things that create these self-sabotaging patterns that stand in the way of us changing our lives now. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter, you know, whether you know this stuff or not, unless or until we do the work to shift or change it, whether that's with EAM or any other self-help method that you've worked with, unless we shift and change it, and most importantly, shift and change it in our energy here, those patterns will keep on replaying in our life experiences. It is there. We are designed to do that. And the reason that it's done the reason it works that way is because it's to help us be able to experience more of the world. It helps us to run things on autopilot. So the reason we become a giant sponge as a child is so that we can learn things about the world. And it means that we can stop thinking so consciously about things. We can start doing things on autopilot, like going to the toilet, learning to drink, eating, driving a car, you know, learning how to read and write, all of those things. You don't think about them consciously anymore because you've learned how to do them on a subconscious level. In exactly the same way, we have learned to run our lives on a subconscious level before the age of 8. So the way in which for us to shift and change these, we have to do the work on changing these patterns that our lovely, amazing 7 or 8-year-old child created. Because let's face it, what you are experiencing at the age of 7 or 8 may not be true in your life right now. Dun, dun, dun. Do you think your life might have changed a little bit since then? Do you think you perhaps have more insight about life and about the world since then? Do you think that maybe our 7 or 8-year-old might have made a few wrong assumptions about some of the things that are happening in the world based on the things and the people and the things that are around us that we experienced at that time? Yes, I think that you would probably agree. So, really common self-sabotage patterns that show up in our lives are things like, okay, and give me some yeses underneath these. These are things that I see happening for people all the time. And if you recognize any of these, the good news is we can use EAM to let go of the pattern. So do you ever, and give me a big yes underneath the video if this is if this resonates with you at all, do you ever find yourself giving up on something before it gets really good? It's kind of like that old analogy of, you know, the miner who's digging for gold and they stop just inches away from when everything was about to get good. So a pattern, that is one self-sabotaging pattern that I know shows up for a lot of people. Another one is people creating chaos and drama around them when things start to get good. I can see lots of yeses going in on the chat for this now as well. So people creating drama around them when things start to get good. Also, another one, being a victim, or what we would call within the AM, a puller energy. So stepping into the, I can't do this, I'm too sick, too ill, too skint, too broke, too tired, too overworked, too overwhelmed, to this, to that, to you fill in the blank. And the reason I say that is because, and again, think about a 7 or 8-year-old, how do we tend to get the attention that we want from around us, from our parents? Is usually when we're sick or unwell or when something's wrong. That's when we tend to get most attention from other people around us. When everything's going right, people just crack on with what they're doing. They don't give us the time, energy, and attention. So this victim mentality is almost born into us naturally, because when we cry as a child, that's when we get attention. When we hurt our knee, that's when we tend to get the most attention. When we're sick, that's when we tend to get the most attention. So the victim state, the puller energy state, is something that is almost trained into us from a very young age. But it is also, as you grow older, a sabotaging pattern that will stand in the way of you shifting and changing your life. So another pattern, does anyone ever find themselves focusing on the biggest challenge that they have in their life and talking about it all the time to everyone that will listen and telling the same story about why their life isn't working and why things can't change. Have we ever done that? I know I have. Again, self-sabotaging pattern that is standing in the way of you changing. Justifying why things aren't changing in your life and telling the story of all the things that are going on. Blaming other things, other people, other situations for our life experience. And part 2 of that is therefore not taking full responsibility for everything that we have going on in our lives. And again, for me, this is a massive one that I would talk about all day, every day, around the power of self-responsibility. We are the ones who are here to create our life experience. It is down to us to be fully responsible for the way that we think, the way that we feel, what happens in our energy, and everything we create in our life experience. For those of you who tuned into one of my other calls the other day, we talked about this new paradigm. The old paradigm way of living is about blame and shame and not taking responsibility, disempowering ourselves, making it somebody else's fault or responsibility for us to change our lives. The new paradigm way of living your life and stepping into your life experience is for you to be fully responsible. And that means not allowing other things, people, life experiences, things that have happened to be the ruler or be the reason why we don't change our lives or change the way that we think and feel. Not allowing ourselves, another one that if you might have this going on, not allowing ourselves to be top priority. So putting everyone and everything else first, the way other people think, the way other people feel, what other people say, what other people do, what other people say we can do, can't do, shouldn't do, worrying about keeping somebody else or other people happy before we put our own happiness first. Not taking any action. So that was another self-sabotage pattern. Not taking any different action. Do you ever wonder why life ends up looking exactly the same, but we end up doing exactly the same things time and time and time again, and then we wonder why our life experience isn't any different? And another one, last one that you might want to write this down, is telling other people what to do and then not doing it for ourselves. Has anyone ever done that? I know I have at some point in my past as well. But telling other people like, oh, I've learned all of this amazing stuff called EAM and it's brilliant and you should be using it to change your life, and then not doing it for ourselves as well. Now, they are just a few of many different self-sabotaging patterns that can be showing up in our life experience. Now, the good news is that all of them are just stories. All of them are just patterns, information that is held somewhere here, in this level of our aura. Now, if it's just energy, which it is, because everything is just energy, it also means that you have the power to shift, change, and transform it, which you can do with EAM. So we're going to do one of these together in a minute. I'm going to show you how we can do this together. But the reason, no, I'm not going to tell you that tonight. Sorry, I was going to share it with you, but it's like a whole nother 20 minutes for me to explain. There is a very good reason why these patterns show up here on the outer edge of our life experience. This is what we would call our earthly energies. And that means that they're the things that we live and interact within in our day-to-day experience. Now, I'm not going to share this with you today because it won't blow your mind, but it will just be another 20 minutes for me to talk through and explain it. But these self-sabotage patterns are here for a reason, and they show up here for a reason, because we are designed to stay safe, and everything that we do in our life experience is around maintaining this safety or this homeostasis in our life, so that everything kind of remains still. We know the status quo, we know how we can manage our life experience. Now, what I want to do is show you how you can actually use EAM to release some of these patterns from your energy. Okay, I'm just going to make myself a note here. Okay, are you ready? You're all like, tell me now. Yes. You want me to tell you now? I'm not telling you today. You'll have to wait. You have to come and spend some more time with me if you want me to tell you the rest of that bit. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to show you how you can use the 5 steps of EAM to actually work on releasing a pattern. So I want you to stand up on your feet. We're going to do this exercise together. And I want you to, I'm going to show you how to work on self-sabotaging patterns. Someone gave me an angry face then because I'm not telling you. Seriously, I can talk for days and 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 days. There is so much stuff in here. So I'm going to contain myself and teach you the things that I said I was going to teach you tonight. But I really want to do this exercise with you today. I am going to show you how you can work on letting go of these sabotaging patterns that are held in your aura. So if you find yourself doing any of these things, you can follow this process to work on releasing the patterns from your energy. So let's think about what's one of the most common ones? Believing that we don't have enough. Let's work on that one together as a pattern. So up on your feet, please. Whether you're watching this in the Facebook group with me live, whether you're watching this as a video later, I actually want you to do this with me now. So stand up with your feet hips width apart, close your eyes, close your eyes for me. And I want you to make sure that the back of your knees are relaxed, that your hips are relaxed, nice and loose. Take a nice deep breath. Okay. And then what I'm going to lead you through are the 5 steps of EAM. I'm going to guide you through the process and we're going to do this one working together. So we're going to work on one belief of believing that you don't have enough. Okay? Because this is a common pattern that I see with a lot of people. I don't have enough time, money, wealth, abundance. We're going to talk about that in the next session in a second. So close your eyes, and I just want you to, step 1, we're going to ask your body the question. So I want you to ask your sway, just close your eyes and relax, and say, do I have a habit or do I have a pattern of believing I don't have enough? And then I want you to notice whether your body sways forwards, which is usually a yes, or backwards, which is usually a no. And you might need to reword that question for you ever so slightly just to use the right language for you. But do I have a habit or pattern of believing I am not good enough or I don't have enough? So step 1, you ask the question. Step 2, your body is going to respond and give you that yes or that no. Okay. Now, step 3 is called you experience. Now, there are many, many, many ways to do step 3, but the one I want to show you today is how to use this by using numbers. We don't feel our beliefs. We don't feel our patterns. It's not like an emotion. When you think about something of like, when you think about a pattern of something like not being good enough or not believing that you're good enough, you don't feel our emotions inside of it. We don't feel our beliefs inside. I must get my words out today. And so the way for you to work on your beliefs and patterns is by using numbers. Now, you can use your sway to ask your energy, how many times have you repeated that thought, that belief, or that pattern in your life? So I want you to ask this way: have I repeated this pattern of not having enough more than 1,000 times? And then your body's going to give you this sway forwards, which will be a yes, or a sway backwards, which will be a no. Okay, so just let me talk you through the process and just ask those questions along with me. So I hope you are stood up and following this process through so I can talk you through it slowly. So say, for example, I ask the question, do I have a pattern of believing I don't have enough? And my sway said yes. Mine just said no, which is good. But my sway just said yes. And I said, have I believed that more than 1,000 times? It might say yes. So then I'd say, okay, have I believed it more than 10,000 times? It might say yes. I'd go, okay, have I believed it more than 100,000 times? Yes. Have I believed it more than 1,000,000 times? Yes. Okay. Have I believed it more than 2 billion times? No. Okay. So somewhere between 1,000,000 and 2 million times, I have repeated the pattern or the belief that I don't have enough of something. So what we're actually measuring by asking the numbers is the number of times that you've repeated that pattern in your life. Now, the reason that's important is because those 2 million patterns of not having enough or not believing you are enough as a self-sabotaging pattern is sat there in your life experience every day as you're going about your life, doing the things that you're doing. You've got 2 million of these patterns of not being good enough carried around with you in everything that you do. Now, bearing in mind how many self-sabotaging patterns, thoughts, beliefs, and things that we have, can you imagine what is influencing our life experience every day by carrying this stuff around? And this is why we always begin the journey with working on your soul element, working on your energy, thoughts, emotions, and our physical health first, because we need to clear these things up, because we can't possibly start changing all of the other things in our lives unless or until we've released these sabotaging patterns that are standing in the way of everything that we do. So by asking this way, how many times have I repeated that? That's what we're doing. We're looking for the number of patterns, the number of times you've repeated that pattern that's held in your energy, and that's the answer the sway is giving to you. So what you would do is just use the sway to ask, say it said, where did we get to? It said no more than 2 million. So we might say, do I have more than 1.5 million? And it would say no. Do I have more than 1.2 million? It would say no. Do I have more than 1.1 million? No. So we know that somewhere between 1 million, because it gave us a yes, it was more than 1 million, and less than 1.1 million. Now, you do not need to go and find the absolute individual number. It's just to give you a ballpark before you move on to step 4 of the process. So use the sway with step 3 to define a ballpark for the number that you need. And then with step 4, we're going to work on releasing all of those all at once. This is one of the most magical things about EAM, is you do not need to find the 1.1 million patterns, the times that you've repeated that in your life, because you would be spending a very long time working on finding them all. We can work on releasing all of those patterns all at once. And this is one of the reasons why EAM is so quick at helping you shift, change, and transform things. So 2 million patterns or whatever it was. So find your number, whatever yours is. I'm going to use the 1.1 million that we've said in the example, but I want you to use whatever came up for you. So just close your eyes, pay attention, relax the back of your knees, and just be present with yourself and repeat these words after me. I'm ready to release these, and then insert the number that you've just found or the ballpark of the number you found, beliefs or patterns that I don't have enough. I release them from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. We'll say that another 2 times. I'm ready to release these 1.1 or 1.2 million or whatever your number was, patterns of not believing I have enough. I release this pattern from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to release these, and then find the number that you've got, patterns of believing that I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough, whatever your wording was. I release this from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. And take a nice deep breath in and out. Okay, now I want you to ask your sway, have I released these 1.1 million patterns of believing I'm not good enough? And obviously insert your number. Or do I still have 1.1 or whatever your original number was, patterns of not believing I'm good enough? And hopefully your sway will give you a sway backwards. And what you can now do is keep asking the sway. So check in with the numbers. So if it said no, I don't have more than 1.1 left, I might say, do I have more than 500,000 left? No. Okay. Do I have more than 100,000 left? No. Do I have more than 10,000 left? No. Okay. Do I have more than 1,000 left? Yes. Okay. So as soon as you've got a yes, then what you would do is repeat step 4 again to work on releasing the rest of those patterns. So let's do that again. For those of you who are watching the video or joining us on the call tonight, we're going to do that again. I'm ready to release these remaining patterns of not being good enough or not having enough. I release this from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to release these remaining beliefs or patterns of not having enough or not being good enough. I release this from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to release these remaining patterns or beliefs around not being good enough. I release them from my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. And take a nice deep breath in and out. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that again. Ask the sway again. Do I still have more than 1,000 or whatever the number was that you just got down to? Do I still have 1,000? Then I'd say no. Do I still have more than 100? No. Do I have more than 50? No. Do I have more than 10? No. Brilliant. Do I have more than one pattern remaining of not being good enough? No. Brilliant. That means you've let them all go. Yay! So ask this way, have I released all of these patterns of not being good enough? And see what your sway says. I just want you to check in with that for yourself. I can see some yes, yes, yes going on in the comments. Does that mean that you've... I'm so guilty, bless you. Brilliant. Same. I've taken responsibility. Brilliant. Oh, love this. I'm going to come back and read all your comments later, you guys, because it's awesome. Thank you, Carolyn, for being on there to support, and Tiff and Sharon and Jude. God, you guys are amazing on there commenting and supporting everybody. So have you check in with the sway? Has that given you a shift or change inside? Have you released all of the beliefs that were coming up around that? So hopefully your sway is giving you a yes forward. So once you've done step 4 and it's given you that test, you've said yes, it's allowed you to sway forward. Now you are ready to do step 5. Now what we've done is released those 2 million patterns that were held here in our energy. And what we want to do is redirect that energy that was held here and transform it into a belief or pattern that is going to support us. So now with step 5, this is where we get to manifest. This is where we get to think, feel, choose, believe, or receive anything that we want. So close your eyes for me for a moment and put your arms in the air above your head. This is the best way for you to do step 5 because it helps you to receive more easily. Make sure that your hands are flat like this. And I want you to say, close your eyes. I'm ready to allow myself to create supportive patterns that will lead me on my journey. I believe and live my life as if I have more than enough. I allow this into my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to allow myself to create a new pattern of always having enough. I allow this into my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to allow myself to create a new pattern of having an abundance of everything that I need, want, believe, or I'm ready to receive. I allow this into my energy in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. Take a nice deep breath in and keep your arms up. And you should notice your arms get really heavy, as if something's just landed in them. And I want you to slowly bring your arms down by your side with your palms facing up. And what that does is just allows it to drop down into your energy. So hopefully you felt that. Don't worry if you didn't, it's absolutely fine. The same thing will still be happening. It's just some people are able to feel what's going on in their energy. So I'd love to know in the chat, I'm going to come and have a super quick look inside the Facebook group. What came up for you then? Did you feel it? What came up? Did you feel it? Did you let it all go? And don't worry if I did that exercise too quickly for you as well, then you can always go back and re-watch this. There will be lots more examples of ways to use the 5 steps of EAM. But you can use this same process of working with the numbers, using the 5 steps of EAM, working with the numbers to work on any self-sabotaging patterns that you have that you know stand in the way of you changing your life. Because we want next year, remember, everything we're talking about is about making 2019 freaking awesome for you. And the way to do that is by letting go of all of these patterns that are standing in the way for you here. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in or weren't here earlier on in the call, I am going to be talking more about this at our 3-day live event, which is coming up in January, the Ultimate Self-Help Live, which you can find out more about on theultimateselfhelplive.com. Not the Ultimate Self-Help Live, sorry, ultimateselfhelplive.com. Ultimate Self-Help Live. Or if you are watching this later on my Facebook page, if you want me to send you the link, just write yes, I want USHL, which I should probably write up for you if you want this. Yes, I want USHL, and we will send you, some magic wizardry will suddenly send you a link to find out more about that on our Facebook page as well. But we are, and what I'm actually going to do, I am going to share with you the bit that I didn't share with you tonight. And I'm not saying that just to be mean, but it really is like a mind-blowing thing. But once you get it, you're going to understand why these self-sabotage patterns come up here. And I've already explained to you some of how to do it, but the reason that they show up here and how to recognize when they're coming and why they are coming up in your life experience. And I am going to be sharing more about that at our 3-day live event, but it's much more than just the 3 days, because we're actually going to be working together for a whole month. You're going to have me for the whole of January. We've got 2 live training calls, very much like this, before the event, so that we can work on all of the things that are standing in your way, working on things like getting your sway working for you. You're going to understand why your sway doesn't work, how to tell what your sway is really telling you, because it is telling you an awful lot about your energy. You're going to understand a lot more about that. But we're also going to be looking at some of these self-sabotage patterns that stand in the way and doing the work on those even before we get to the 3-day live event. So Then we've got the 3 days together, which are going to be mind-blowing. And then we've got 2 more calls after the live event as well, because we've all been along to those events. We're like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to implement everything I've learned and I'm going to change my life. And then we get home back to our reality, and everything that we've done seems to have disappeared. So I want to be there with you to hold the container, and to help you create that magic and really start implementing everything we do together in your life experience after the event as well. So basically, you've kind of got me for the whole of January, if you want me. So if you want to find out more about all of that, please pop over to ultimateselfhelplive.com, because I am ready to make 2000 freaking epic for you. And I just love teaching, to be honest. That's the real reason I do it, is I absolutely love teaching and sharing, because it's all just energy. And once you get it, once you really start implementing this stuff in your life, I can't explain the magic that really begins to happen. And the only way for you to really explain it is to come and experience it. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing at the event. So